Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Williamson. I'm one of the founders of Ship Thrifty and Ship to Military. We get started with Ship Thrifty in 2017, and in the process of getting into military shipping by accident, we realized that there was a lot of really bad information in there, a lot of old information that people weren't keeping up to date. And so we do what we can to try to help you guys stay current and know what you need to know about military shipping. And that's what this video is for. So hopefully you learned some new stuff. That being said, we're super passionate about supporting people who serve. We teach at pre-deployments. We are a USPS partner. We are military one-source vetted, American Legion Auxiliary Partner, Booster Mothers, and we work with nonprofits across the country when it comes to sending care packages. So we've become experts over the years, and that information that we get asked a lot, I'm putting into this video and this piece to help you guys and to be able to share information to help you ship to your loved ones or through your nonprofit. So there are 6 things that most people don't know about military shipping. The first is that military has special designations to keep service members safe without disclosing their location. And there are city, state, and zip codes, which don't look like city, state, and zip codes if you're looking at a brand new military address and you've never done this before. Rest assured that when you see that APO, FPO, DPO, those are city designations. The MPO, if you hear somebody refer to the MPO, that's just the military post office. So the military has anything that we have on the civilian side, the military has on the military side. States are disclosed through a 2-letter character, and you'll see them listed here in the middle. So when you're looking at your address, you'll see state information there. Zip codes are grouped into ranges. I'm going to move this video down a little bit. Basically, all the bases are going to have either an APO or an FPO, and that's just the way that it works. So even if you're a Marine or somebody who's in the Coast Guard and you're deployed, you'll still have an APO or an FPO location. Diplomatic post offices are a little bit different. Most of the service members are going to be at the APO or FPO. From there, the next thing that you need to know about the addresses, so that's how they basically start routing out of the states. And then the next thing is the address line. So your address line is usually a unit and a box number, a PCS number. If it's the Air Force, is usually a designator. You'll sometimes see a ship or hull number for the Navy. Embassies also have unit and box numbers. So just because you're not in these branches again doesn't mean that you're not falling into one of these areas, because you probably will be. Another side note is sometimes they have both an APO and an FPO at a base. So, that is a very rare example, but sometimes that does happen as well. Addressing is a really important thing. You want to make sure that you're following the rules on addressing, which is having the person's full name. You can use a middle initial, whether rank is there or not. It's recommended because it helps for deliverability. We have seen them go without rank being there, so that's something that if you're not comfortable with, you can make your own decision on that. The request should never have any service member or soldier in there, or just chaplain in there, right? You need to have somebody's name. Maybe it's Chaplain Smith or whoever it might be, but it's good to include that first name in all cases, because it does help with deliverability. The other thing is you never want to put a country name in here. So you've got address line 1 and address line 2 on address line fields. You don't want to put Syria or Iraq or Afghanistan or something like that in your label text, because it could actually have that package accidentally get into the international mail stream. And even though your service members are deployed overseas, military mail is actually considered domestic mail with the post office, and so it gets the domestic pricing and it routes to the domestic routes. Moving on from there are package size maximums. So packages can't exceed 70 pounds and length and girth of 180 inches. Now the post office can do a little bit bigger boxes. I usually don't recommend them because it actually adds like $100 to the shipping cost right up front. And so if you can keep your packages underneath these criteria, you'll save money. I'll share some shipping tips with you and savings tips down the road, and you probably won't even want to get your packages up to 70 pounds after I do that. But that being said, the 180 inches is the distance around that package added on to the length. So you do all four sides and then add that length on. Our tools and Ship Thrifty don't even let you put something over that in there. It will give you an error saying that you can't do it. So if you're unsure, you can use the tools and that'll be a little safeguard for you. Military restrictions exist. There are a lot of restrictions when it comes to shipping, even stateside. You can have limited quantities of certain things. There's dangerous goods rules that have gone into place. And it's to protect people in general and make sure that there aren't explosions from hazardous materials out there and other items. So let's talk a little bit about some of the key things that you need to know. So, even though you might be able to send hand sanitizer or some cleaning materials that don't have hazardous goods like peroxides or chlorines or those items in them throughout the US, when they're going overseas, they have to follow both the international and the stateside restrictions, and then the military-based restrictions. So those are three different things that you need to look at. So like aerosols will automatically come back. It's really important to know this because packages, once the post office starts transferring or any carrier, they're automatically doing their job. So that bill is already set, right? If your package is paid, your postage paid, and you're done. If that comes back, they're non-refundable. So hand sanitizer is restricted because it's got alcohol in it, but hand sanitizer isn't the only thing with alcohol in it. You've got glasses wipes, you could have alcohol swabs. Those things you don't want to put in the regular mail, okay? Cigarettes, smokeless tobaccos, those things can't go. In some cases, cigarettes are actually allowed to be sent, same thing with smokeless tobacco, but vape pens and accessories aren't. So it really just depends on the base and the restrictions. Used electronics can't go overseas. So you can't have anything with lithium batteries that's been opened up and used. So if you're sending a computer, you can't send a used computer. You can't send a used cell phone, just because those items can explode in transit. If you're stateside and you're sending those items, it has to go through ground transportation, just as a side note. If you have a brand new cell phone and the base allows cell phones, because sometimes any electronic devices are restricted at a base or prohibited. But if you have those things and the batteries, it's open, it's not open, it's brand spanking new, the batteries are in there, you can send that if it's in a box by itself and say, Samsung Galaxy flip phone in your customs. You can learn more about that on our dangerous and hazardous goods piece that's online, or you can reach out to us if you have that situation arise. Offensive pornographic images are forbidden. Bulk quantities of religious materials, pork products in Muslim countries, but even other meat products can be restricted on a base case. Coffee, same thing with over-the-counter meds. And then there may be box size restrictions. And so you want to make sure that you're putting your zip code for whoever you're sending the package to in to make sure that you're following the guidelines. Usually if it's a box size restriction, it's 27 by 14 by 14. So if you don't want to look it up, make sure your boxes are underneath that size just to avoid that return package. Delivery times vary a lot. It's generally about 2 weeks. We've seen packages get to the Middle East in as little as 7 or 8 days. We've seen them during the holidays take about 6 weeks to get to the Horn of Africa. So it really depends. And the other thing that can change is the operational conditions that are going on at that base at that particular time. So they might be off in training, or they might not have somebody to be manning the post office. It just really depends on what's going on at the base, but generally plan on about 2 weeks. If you have something, before I go on, if you have something that's time sensitive, I recommend sending it a week early. And if it's during the holidays, up to a month early, just to make sure it gets there. So that'd be what I'd say on that route. Customs forms are mandatory for military shipments. A lot of people don't know this. And you can do customs at the post office. There's a form, this 2976R, that you can actually fill out. It's going to ask you who you're shipping to, where you're shipping from, and then it's going to ask you to detail the items that are in the box. And you can't just put snacks or hygiene or stuff like that anymore. You actually have to detail the items out. So, if your snacks are granola bars and chips and cookies and, Girl Scout cookies and whatever they are, just document them down. You take the form up to the post office with your box. They type all the information into the system, and then it kicks off your customs generated label, and then it kicks off the other label, and those go on the boxes, and then you pay for the shipping. The way I know how to do it, and the easier way in my idea, is online. So you can there's an online form at the post office that you can bring in with you, but they still have to type that information in, I believe. But doing customs, I'm going to talk to you about it from the Ship Thrifty side, because that's what I know. You literally type the information no different than you were typing it in anywhere else or documenting it on your sheet, and it literally prints on your label. Again, I already mentioned that you need to give some details and description in here. So you might want to say white socks or cotton socks or baby wipes. But those items do need to be laid out here. If you do batch care packages and you're doing a whole lot, reach out to us so we can talk to you about it beforehand, and make sure that you're set with your customs. The other nice thing about doing it online in a tool like Ship Thrifty is there's no handwritten anything. The customs forms, as soon as you create your label and pay for your discounted shipping, it literally goes out to the International Service Center. They already know what's coming there even before your package gets to the post office. The next thing we're going to talk about is some shipping tips and ways to save money on military shipping. So these packages are going through conveyors and, being picked up by skid steers and all kinds of other stuff. So you want to use sturdy packages, and those packages can open up if you have liquids in them, right? So your liquid, maybe your shampoo opens up because it's getting passed along in different conveyor belts or whatnot. Pack your liquids and powders in plastic Ziploc bags. If you have a lot of liquids in your bag, put a towel in there around them so that if it does open up, it's not leaking outside of the plastic bag and into the other items in your care package and ruining it. You want to use quality boxes. USPS has free boxes. If you are shipping online, those free boxes will almost always cost more to ship than actually buying your own boxes. If you're going to the post office, it's probably going to be cheaper. But the savings from doing your labels online is significant. It can be up to 50% depending on where you live or more. Don't ship air. Fill your box. You're paying for the space in that box. Fill that box. You don't want to overstuff it, however. You want to make sure that the box closes and that the items aren't shifting around a whole bunch when you're moving it around. You can take individual items out of bulky packaging and you'll get more space in your box for stuff. Buy things on sale. Be cautious about chocolates. If somebody's deployed in a hotter area, the chocolate can melt really quick. Now, I have not heard of people complaining about melted chocolate, but it can get kind of messy. So, certainly up to your service member. If it's a family member and they don't really care if it melts, go ahead and send it. The other thing is for fillers, use reusable items like candy or plastic grocery bags or things that, your service member can use again. Socks are a great filler. There's never enough socks from what I hear, but just some ideas on that. Also be aware of basic insurance coverage limits. USPS ground and priority mail has a max of $100 of insurance. Overseas packages USPS has to handle the overseas packages. They are treated as domestic, as I mentioned before, and those packages basically, if you're doing first class mail, there's no insurance on it. So just be aware of that kind of stuff. And if you're sending something more expensive, you might want to take some pictures of that in case you do have to do an insurance claim, and making sure that you add that supplemental insurance, which Ship30 does discount on, just to make sure that you're not at a loss if something happens to that box, for lack of better words. Sending cash or gift cards, I don't recommend it. Military mail is subject to search, and so if they do have to open up the box because they're concerned that there might be something dangerous or hazardous in there, or whatever, those cards can get lost. Same thing with cash. It's better to do transfers online if at all possible, to help those folks out on there. And you can find more tips and information resources on our shiptomilitary.com site too. Let's talk about saving money, because shipping can get expensive, and a great way to save is to create your labels online. And the flat rate box it's $23 these days. It's March of 24 right now. So that's $23 at the post office. It will probably be your most or least expensive way to ship at the post office in many cases. However, these brown boxes, if you buy your own boxes online, you can save a lot of money on shipping. So Uline has boxes, Amazon has boxes that you don't have to pay for shipping costs on. You can get boxes at any office location. U-Haul has boxes. So there's different places. Think about using those boxes. You can use our tools to compare your rates with different box options. We do discount the large flat rate box, but even more than just even these smaller boxes, sometimes moving to a little bit bigger box is a way to save some money. So a 16 by 12 by 12 or 17 by 11 by 11, those are at Home Depot and Lowe's. And sometimes, depending on where you are in the country, because costs for shipping vary depending on where you are and how far a box is going, sometimes 3 of these will be less in a larger box, especially if you can keep that box under 20 pounds. So you can do those comparisons on your own. From there, the next thing I would say is, again, it's almost always cheaper to use the plain boxes. And when you use the plain boxes, you're able to leverage other carrier options as well, right? So you're not just stuck with USPS if it's stateside shipping. So that's a great way to save some money too. So there's also things that we'd like to keep you in the loop of that happen from time to time. So USPS does price checking 2 times a year, usually in July and at the end of January. Last year, they had no holiday surcharges. Sometimes they do. If they do have them, they usually start at the beginning of October and go to the end of January. We have a Facebook group that you're welcome to join. We'll share tips and information out there. And then the other thing that I would say is just something to consider on the savings side. There are surcharges with USPS for both Priority Mail and Ground Advantage, and they vary depending on what the items are, how long a side is. You can kind of see them here. The Ground Advantage, we don't really see it taking that much longer to get to bases. In fact, it's about the same as the Priority Mail. So if you've got that as an option that's coming up, I highly consider choosing that option. It's just a great option that can offer a lot of cost savings to you, in my opinion. Again, watch those box size dimensions. These keep you under the 3, 4, 5, 6 cubic inches that if your Priority Mail adds $25 to your box instantly. If your Ground Advantage, it adds 15. So be really aware of those kinds of things. And the other thing that I would say is if you can be aware of weight at all, it's a great thing, because as soon as you hit over 20 pounds, your shipping rate can go up $10 instantly. So there's some other savings tips for you on that front. We'd love to be able to help you with any of your questions. If you do have questions, reach out to us. Our tools are free to use. You're welcome to create an account on ship30.com and be able to create those labels. You can walk right through them. It will walk you through. You just say where you're shipping to, fill in the blanks on the single shipping tool. And our create multiple labels tool actually allows you to save addresses in there, actually orders, and then you can, let's say you've got a service member and you're gonna send them a package every month. You can save all your shipping information, just flip your box information in your customs out and redo that. You can also do multiple labels on that tool. So that's some tips and information that I have for you today on shipping. Again, always know that the information that is on our tools is always up to date. And if you need any help or resources, we're always here to help. Thanks.